Yeah, hi, it's Jackie here from the LGFA, and today we're going to be on a very, very special chat with our three TG4 Players Player of the Year award winners, as announced officially last Saturday night on Peil na Foirne na Bliana TG4. And I'm very pleased to be joined. I'll go from the top left-hand side of my screen is Vikki Wall from Dunboyne and Meath, our Intermediate Players Player of the Year. Bottom left, Aimee Mackin from Shane O'Neill's in Armagh, our Senior Players Player of the Year award winner for 2020. And bottom right, Eimear Smyth, Derry Gonley Harps in Fermanagh for the second year in a row, Junior Players Player of the Year award winner. So Vikki, I introduced you first, so I'll start with you first. Good to have you on. How has life been since Saturday night, and has your phone melted, or have you had to get a new one with all the notifications coming in?
Funny, I was only talking about getting a new phone before I joined this, but no, I think, yeah, definitely overwhelmed by the response. I suppose probably didn't expect the extent of the response, even from teammates and just maybe people I don't know at all. But yeah, definitely overwhelmed by the response, but delighted by it as well, yeah.
Very good. Aimee, yourself?
Yeah, same as Vikki. Extremely overwhelmed by it all, and to see the reaction that the community had itself, and it just how many people that took pride in it was very overwhelming, and to lift a few people's spirits was very nice as well. But a huge honour for myself as well.
Absolutely, and Eimear, no stranger to winning Players Player of the Year awards, but to win it twice in a row, that must be nice as well. And you know, compared to the previous year where you're coming off the back of an All Ireland final defeat, to be a champion and to win this award must make it incredibly satisfying.
Yeah, I suppose I just echo what the girls say. Like it's a really proud moment, like for my family and like the club, and everybody sort of associated with the county. Like, and then to get it on top of an All Ireland final win, like to get that, definitely a really, really nice bonus at the end of the season.
Brilliant. If you don't mind me saying it, guys, three of my favourite players to watch. Absolutely, it just so happens that you're all forwards as well. So, absolutely phenomenal, skillful and brilliant forwards. And there was a little battle between yourself and Aimee, between Aimee and Vikki as well for the AIG Cúl na Bliana. You came out on top on that one. Aimee, what do you remember of that goal? Because I know Bliana, your sister, was involved in the build-up as well. Cracking goal, cracking finish, little jink and left foot into the roof of the net.
Yeah, I probably didn't think too much about it at the time. It was all probably instinct, but there was a period of the game where we probably needed a goal, and it was the only thing that was in my mind when I got the ball that I was going to go for it. Luckily, it went in. A lot of them can go wide as well, but I don't think I realised the extent of it until the reaction probably after the match and all the Twitter notifications. But like I said, Vikki was as deserving of it as well. Her goal was phenomenal, and to do it in an All-Ireland final was something special.
And another score I'll remember from your championship season, Aimee, was the one off the outside of the boot against Mayo. I made it into a little GIF on Twitter as well. A phenomenal score.
Yeah, I suppose we practiced from we're young trying to do them sort of scores, but yeah, luckily it just went over the bar. As I say, a lot of them can go wide, but it's probably something I want to take more into my game, and hopefully all the players can try to do it as well.
And Jerome Quinn has been dipping into his vault of highlights to find some gems, many of which I actually was fortunate to see in the flesh. Aimee, you know, all different kind of strikes. You know, you're banging some home, you're chipping the keeper with others, all different types of finishes.
Yeah, and as I say, it's something we practice and train a lot, and something that I've been doing from I'm young. So only now that they're probably televised, but it's something that I'm sort of used to do with my club, and I suppose a lot of practice from when we were young, practicing the basic skills of football and just sort of watching other people play, and the likes of Vikki and Eimear, I learn from watching their matches as well, and I learn off other county players in my own team as well. So it's always learning and always a lot of improvements to be made.
We'll chat to you about the Gaelic for Girls initiative as well, where it all started for you as well, Aimee, before we wrap up the conversation. Vikki, I saw you scoring an absolutely cracking goal in the semi-final at Nolan Park. Let me get my years right, because it was 2019, wasn't it, at Nolan Park semi-final? That's right, yeah. And then you come up with something I thought was quite similar in the All-Ireland final last year. And look, my Irish wouldn't be as good as your Irish, but when I was watching the clip last Saturday night, I think you said "Bhí Farragon down Orm" when you took the ball, because obviously Sarah had suffered an injury before that, Vikki. So when you got that ball, there was only one thing in your mind against Westmeath: you were going for goal, and you almost took the net out.
Yeah, I suppose there probably wasn't a huge amount going through my head. I obviously, like Aimee said, you kind of get to that moment where you think we're needing a goal and stuff like that. So obviously, I suppose goal was on my mind a bit. But yeah, Sarah going off the pitch definitely had a role to play in that. You know, like Aimee knows herself, like doing cruciate once is tough enough, and Sarah doing for the second time, like obviously that's hugely, like it's going to have a huge effect on her. But no doubt she'll be back stronger than ever. But
How is she, Vikki?
Yeah, she's good. I suppose it's tough at the moment. Trying to get back to normality, and I suppose the only outlets we have at the moment are going for a run or going for a walk or training, and I suppose that's kind of been taken away from her a bit. So she got out for her first kind of proper walk the other day, getting back into the swing of things. So yeah, she's on the right path to recovery, but it's definitely a tough time.
Yeah, it's a tough time for everybody in that mental headspace as well, and for Sarah trying to recover from a serious injury must make it quite a challenge. Vikki, is there any solace in the fact that there's no competitive ball at the moment, that she does have that little bit of time maybe to work on that rehab and hopefully come back at a time when we're all back up and running?
100%, yeah. I think the fact that there probably isn't a huge amount of chat of in our group chats, let's say, about when we're getting back and stuff like that. It's kind of individual focus now at the moment anyway. So I suppose that helps with there's no pressure on getting back for a certain date or stuff like that. So I think that definitely will help her, yeah.
We send her our best, Vikki. We wish Sarah all the best in her recovery. It's as Aimee knows too well. It's a long road back. And Eimear, you have your own little highlights reel running as well. I've seen you tearing it up on plenty of occasions as well since you made your debut. That goal in the second half of the All Ireland Junior final, I was there at Fermanagh Park, was a hugely important score for Fermanagh as well at the time. I'm going to come back to Vikki and Aimee on the art of goal scoring, and a bit like maybe a snooker player who's maybe 7 or 8 reds and 7 or 8 blacks in. When you're in that position, do you think that the 1-4-7 is on? When you get the ball, do you feel there's a goal on it? When do you think it comes apparent that there's a goal chance here? But Eimear, your goal, beautiful finish, skidded low along the ground. Was that the way you wanted to put it away? That, you know, it's obviously very difficult for the goalkeeper to get down to that side.
Yeah, I suppose like we had pressed high on their kick out, and Joanne managed to turn the ball over, and then I kind of spotted like the keeper was kind of off her line a bit from the kick out then, and I just, like, it's instinctive, like you just see the gap, and like you're taught from when you're young, like especially as a forward, to keep them low. So, and it was a bit of a wet enough day, wet enough surface, so it just skidded in nicely. And I suppose at that stage in the game, like Wicklow were 14 players, so we needed to kind of like capitalize on that. And then the goal really set us up then to finish out the game.
How satisfying a victory was it, Eimear, coming off the back of what had happened? I can't say 12 months previously because we're in a totally different year. 15 months previously, perhaps, in calendar terms.
Yeah, massive. Like, I suppose standing in Crow Park after getting beat by Louth, like, was a nice place to be. But I think as a group we really turned it into something, not into a positive, but we used it in our training, and that really, really motivated us. And then even over the lockdown period, whenever like everybody was by themselves, whatever, like I know myself, like I kind of use it as a motivator. Like I don't want to feel like that. Feel like got that again this year. And like we knew, like some people can kind of not diss the junior championship, but there's a few teams, like that's what makes it difficult. Like there's a few teams that are very close in level. So I suppose we knew it was going to be a tough one, like especially with Wicklow coming down from the intermediate championship. Like we knew it was going to be a tough campaign. But yeah, no, to get over the line, especially in Parnell Park as well, it was a really nice. Obviously there's nobody there to see it, like, but I suppose everybody watching on TV, like it was definitely special. Yeah,
I remember a couple of years ago you mentioned, you know, playing familiar opposition. I think every second week he seemed to be playing Armagh or Antrim a couple of years ago. It was incredible. So they were in the mix as well, obviously, for the junior championship.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens usually, just because there's so few teams. But I suppose we played Wicklow twice this year, lost once, and then won once. So no, it's a tough championship and it is competitive. But like we're delighted to get up out of it and get playing intermediate football next year.
Brilliant. So for Fermanagh, it was a case of exercising some demons, I suppose. Aimee, from your own point of view, to get back on the pitch after the injury that you had must have been so satisfying. And Eimear talks about we didn't have spectators, and I do think from looking at games and being present at them, that did take away a little bit from it. But as a player, Aimee, I'm sure this was probably one of your most enjoyable seasons, if not the most enjoyable.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I told myself prior to returning to the pitch. I just wanted to enjoy it because I had missed a couple of league matches, but obviously with the COVID situation, it meant I missed less games and missed less training. But I knew when I went back that I was hungrier probably more than ever, just because the way everything worked out. But I knew when I went back, I just wanted to grasp the opportunity that we got and just enjoy my football. I think that's when you're playing your best. You're told when you're under 12s and stuff like that, the more you're enjoying it, the better you're going to play. So I sort of used that to my advantage, and I'm in training well. So yeah, it was going good.
And Vikki, the talk before your final, obviously you can blame me for some of this, was the fact that if you didn't get over the line, it would have been the third year in a row. Was that something that, going out on the pitch, you were saying, not today, this isn't going to happen to us again today? Or was it a case that you could block out what had happened previously and focus ahead on the task at hand, which was a quite formidable challenge in Westmeath?
Yeah, I think maybe a bit of both. I suppose you're there for third year in a row and kind of people are saying, you have to do it this year. But I mean, there was nothing saying that we couldn't go out and lose a third All-Ireland final in a row. It's not written in stone that just because you get there for a third time in a row, you're going to end up winning it. So we were definitely kind of hyper conscious of that, of going in with absolutely no illusions of the challenge that was ahead. And we knew Westmeath were coming down and they'd held their place in Division 1 for the last few years, and they'd only just come down from seniors. So we were definitely under no illusions. But I suppose, like Eimear said, the feeling you have of losing in Croke Park and that we had 2 years in a row, and kind of maybe feeling after Tyrone, they were deserved winners and so were Tipperary, but it kind of felt we got a bit closer, let's say, against Tip. So we kind of thought we've been pushing, and that maybe that it was that all the hard work kind of would pay off, and that we knew that feeling at the end of the year that we definitely didn't want to feel like that again. So definitely small motivations from previous years as well.
There's a lovely upward curve with Meath in recent years, winning divisional titles and doing very well in Division 2 prior to COVID as well. Vikki, this team looks like a team, obviously up senior championship grade now, it looks like a team that's going places.
Yeah, look, I suppose when I first came in, we were definitely going through a transitional period. A lot of the older girls kind of retired at the same time. We float between a few different managements for a few years, and then in the last 3 to 4 years, we've kind of really found our place. So the likes of Paul Garrigan and stuff from Wicklow coming in, he's just changed our setup completely. And the fact that a lot of the girls have been in that transitional period. So I don't think anyone takes those good days for granted. I think everyone really appreciates, when we won the Division 3 league or won anything, there'd been such a drought, I think, it's in Meath football for a while, that everyone really appreciated. So I think, we've a young enough group that's hopefully going to stick together now for the next few years and hopefully be able to make an impact when we go to senior.
Absolutely. Aimee, is the next job for Armagh to get back into Division 1?
Yeah, and hopefully if we get league football, that would be the aim. We come up against Meath prior to the lockdown, and they beat us down in the athletic ground. So it's a hard division to get out of. We've been there for a few years now, but obviously that's the aim for most of the teams in Division 2. So it's a very tough league, but it's one that we'll be hoping to push on in.
Eimear, for Fermanagh, obviously you've come up from junior previously and gone back down. I'm sure that the aim this time is to consolidate and stay up at that intermediate grade and to do well in the league as well if we get league football, as Aimee says.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you want to be playing at the higher levels, Division 3 especially. But yeah, I suppose we've got kind of a solid group now, and Vikki kind of touched on the importance of management setup. So we've got that all in place now, and girls are hungry to drive Fermanagh football on, and so hopefully we can do that.
Johnny's been there a while now, hasn't he? He's been there a couple of years, so there is that bit of continuity again.
Yeah, definitely. Johnny's great. He's brought a real professional setup in, and then the people that he's brought with him as well have really helped us, and everybody's really responded really well. But I think the culture we have in there now is great, and there's really good buy-in from everybody. So we'll be looking to push on.
Vikki, Eamon Murray, I've never seen a happier man than after the All-Ireland final. I was bringing him around for media interviews. He was genuinely overcome and so pleased. And I think he was obviously pleased for himself, but he was so pleased for you guys as well. It was a lovely, lovely thing. The impact that he's had on you. I mean, you mentioned Paul, but Eamon's the gaffer, to use that phrase. What talk to me about Eamon and his influence on the group.
Yeah, I think Eamon's not a man that can hide his emotions easily. So whether he's angry or happy, you're going to know fairly easily. So yeah, after the final, he just, that, like you said, is the best day of his life. He just kept saying that, those type of sentences.
Yeah.
So he puts his heart and soul into Meath football. You know, he was there involved when we were minor management, and I suppose he would have had a big influence on getting a lot of the girls back in after the transitional period. So he had that kind of player management relation that he could go to girls individually and kind of pitch the vision of Meath football. So Paul had the kind of the stats and everything like that, and Eamon was kind of the human side of it. So he's played just as important as a role as Paul has in keeping this group together.
Aimee, just touching back on your piece from Peil, Foirne and Bliana, you had the gym set up out the back there. How long was that there? What was is that recently built, or has it been there a while?
No, it was just a normal shed full of clutter. But as soon as we heard the lockdown was coming, we sort of cleared it out and got a bit of equipment to sort of continue on our training, and it definitely helped me, and it helped our Bliana as well. So it was sort of handy to have at the house. Did
the brothers use it as well?
Yeah, they had to. They were first dibs.
So yeah, there's forgive me if I'm wrong here, but there's yourself and Bliana, and you have two brothers on the Armagh men's panel. Then is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Declan Rooney did a piece last year. There's not much more conversation at the dinner table than football, I'd imagine. Is there, Aimee?
I know that. Well, that's what we were saying before the lockdown. We sort of had never spent as much time together all in one, because we're always separated. We're all training at different times, eating at different times. So we had never fully sat at the dinner table in a very long time. So I think the lockdown sort of brought us together a bit more. And yeah, there was a lot of training done, but it was good to keep us motivated, and definitely in the difficult times.
You hit on something really lovely there, because obviously it was such a tough year 2020 in so many ways, and we're still going through some tough times, but the fact that that you mentioned that it brought the family unit back together, that's one thing that I suppose shouldn't be forgotten throughout this as well, Aimee. If there was maybe that little bit of connection that had been lost previously, that you're all back eating together and spending some quality time together, I think that's really nice.
Yeah, well, we're sort of a close-knit family anyway, but I'd say when everyone's training, it's pretty full-time. We're all out every night of the week. So it was nice to sort of sit down and just have general chat with each other. And obviously, the whole world, but I think it's something that was probably a bit of a benefit for our family. And we have two young nephews as well, so we got to spend a lot of time with them.
Lovely. Eimear, how did you find it all, and just on a human level? Maybe a little bit of uncertainty about whether we'd get football or not, and training on your own, and then getting back to finally some collective training, and then back to matches. How did you find everything, and trying to combine education and everything along the way as well? Not simple, I'd imagine.
No, yeah, it was definitely a strange one, but I suppose I kind of took solace in the fact that everybody's going through the same kind of thing. Nobody's ever experienced a pandemic before, so I kind of took thought from that. But yeah, no, because obviously I was down in Dublin or studying or whatever, and then back home, and have been at home basically ever since. So yeah, it's definitely been difficult. But the football was a massive outlet. Even coming up to Christmas, the dark sort of winter months, it was great because we were still in the championship. We were still able to meet groups of the girls at training, that social aspect, there's so much importance there, and for people's mental health, I think that really it was really, really important. But yeah, no, it was a strange time. I suppose we're not really out of it yet. So yeah, we just can't wait to get back out.
And you find a way to maybe get away from things as well. The focus in your piece was on the meditation side of it. Eimear, when did you first discover meditation, or when did you first think that this could make a real difference?
Yeah, I think it was actually a webinar put on by the WGPA. They had a couple of speakers on, and just had mentioned about mindfulness and that sort of practicing, and how, especially as I say in the lockdown period, how mental health, people's mental health could deteriorate quite quickly. So I just thought I'd heard of it, and I just gave it a go. Bit of extra time in my hands, so why not? And yeah, no, it's great. Just like 10-15 minutes just to kind of escape and just gather your thoughts basically. So yeah, no, it's definitely been brilliant for me and helped me massively.
Aimee, when you're practicing it, do you prefer to try to clear your mind, or do you have a mantra that you might repeat over and over again, or what's your approach to it? Or do you feel that if you're out in nature observing, that that's a form of meditation in itself? What's your approach?
I kind of just go to like a quiet place, so like whether that just be in my bedroom or whatever, and just like focusing on my breathing, and like becoming more aware of like just kind of like the sounds around you and like your feelings in your body and kind of like your emotions. So just becoming more self-aware really would be what I would take away from it basically.
Very good for the anxiety levels if anyone suffers from that, to just to take a few moments and relax. Really, really nice stuff, Eimear. Vikki, your own piece on Saturday, and you took the opportunity, and you've been applauded most wholeheartedly for it, and I actually tweeted about it myself on Saturday evening. I wasn't aware of what you had gone through, I have to say, and I was really, really saddened to hear what had happened to you on the field of play. I think you mentioned the period 2017 to 2019 at various times. What has the reaction to what you talked about, and I would have first become aware of it, I think, on I think Emma Duffy wrote the piece on the 42 and followed up on it. Obviously, I'd seen some of the footage in advance of the show, but how have people reacted to your story, Vikki, and the bravery of what you made public?
Yeah, I suppose it's funny. I definitely, when I brought it up, like I definitely didn't see this type of reaction, or I definitely didn't see this kind of outcome from it. I suppose I was just speaking from personal experience, and I kind of maybe didn't think as many people would resonate with such a topic maybe. Sorry, what was the second half of the question?
Basically, what the general reaction to it, Vikki, because it's something hugely important that should be tackled and highlighted. Was that part of what you wanted to get out there as well, or did you feel you just simply had to get this off your chest, that you've been sitting on it maybe too long?
Yeah, I suppose a bit of both, in that maybe I subconsciously I kind of did want to raise a bit of awareness about it, and then I suppose then at the same time maybe bring a bit of light to it. I suppose just that specific call with the manager, I suppose, was to do with club and stuff like that, and it kind of, I took what he'd said on board and everything, but you kind of think you're doing something the day before so loudly, and for everyone that was when people were allowed on the pitch. So I suppose maybe more so for me it was the fact that it probably affected my family and my teammates more than it would have affected me. I suppose a lot of the girls probably be defensive about it, and more so talking about a club experience of that. People saying after the match, and oh God, you all right? Like, did you hear this and hear that? But like, it probably didn't have a huge effect on me personally, maybe, until I maybe reflected on it a bit. But it definitely affected the likes of my mom, my dad, and stuff. When you hear that at a match, like it's a football match, it's an amateur sport, you know, that kind of way. And if it's something that is affecting you personally, and then when you're going to do something that you love and enjoy, and it kind of gets brought into that side of things, I suppose, yeah, upon a bit of reflection, I maybe did want to raise a bit of awareness about it in that sense.
Vikki, when that manager rang you to apologise, did you get the sense that he or she was contrite, was genuinely ringing to apologise, or was this a box ticking exercise? And did you accept the apology at face value for what it was? What was your reaction?
Oh, look, I like, in some sense of the word, like, it's, everyone says things during a football match they don't mean, you know, that kind of, nobody's perfect in that sense of the word. So yeah, I absolutely did accept his apology. I suppose going out and reaching out and ringing someone takes courage as well. So I suppose, yeah, I did accept the apology, but at the same time, you're kind of wondering about the sincerity of it as well.
Okay, no, and it's we were. As I say, I'm sure you've been blown away by the I'm sure the overwhelmingly positive feedback you've had to the piece, Vikki. Do you feel a sense of relief now that it's out there and you've said what you wanted to say, and maybe you can close the door on it to an extent now?
Yeah, definitely. I suppose I kind of personally would have closed the door on it maybe a year ago, in that kind of way. It's something I dealt with. It was during the leaving cert, like I put, like, it's not the first person to put on weight during the leaving cert, maybe in that kind of way. So, and I knew myself, and it kind of after 2019, the final, like I said, self-evaluation, it wasn't because of what I'd heard or what people had been saying. It was more so personally of me feeling like, am I able to perform to my best, or that kind of a thing. So that was more so, so definitely being able to close the door on it.
Well done. It's absolutely fantastic what you've done, I have to say. Shone a light on something that really needs to be shone on. Vikki, Aimee, you've had challenges in your own life. The cruciate was 2019 against Cork, and I've seen footage, and distressing to see it. From my own point of view, knowing you and knowing the good person that you are, to see something like that happen to you was quite upsetting for a lot of people. The road back, Aimee, people talk about, rehab and the lonely times and the days where you think, God, will I ever get there? I'm sure there were, once you start the journey, you think, God, will I ever get there? But towards the end of it, then when you're meeting your mini goals and you're getting there, the light at the end of the tunnel must just become brighter and brighter.
Yeah, well, I suppose the day I got hurt, there was probably mixed emotions, because we had big court that day, which
That's right.
I was delighted for the team. But obviously, then to get the news that it was a cruciate, it's never something that any footballer wants to hear. But I think with the whole COVID situation, it put a lot of things into perspective for me, that people were definitely going through more difficult situations than what I was going through. So I sort of used that as well. And I think I didn't look too far ahead. I always just took it step by step. And as I say, I set the mini goals, and obviously you get further on, you get it becomes a wee bit more easier as you're returning closer to your end goal. But I think, I had a lot of good people around me to help me, and I have to thank everyone as well for their help, because you can't do it on your own. But I think as well, then when the COVID situation came, it was sort of everyone was in the same scenario, because everyone was training on their own. So the only thing that was different was I was in a different program to Bliana as such for the rest of my teammates. So sort of made it a wee bit easier as well, because the whole country had a different program to do.
Aimee, did you think you'd ever come back as good as this? Because I mean, your form was incredible.
Yeah, well, I suppose it surprised myself, but I knew I'd put in the work to get myself in the right shape. But obviously you have to have a wee bit of luck involved too. I was lucky not to pick up any niggles along the way. So I think it was more just training well, and that breeds confidence. So, and again, as I say, I enjoyed my football, and I never looked as forward for a season in my life. So it was one I wanted to take with two hands.
Yeah, everybody really enjoyed watching Armagh. Left such an imprint on the championship, and are right back at that top table. You mean, I remember a few years ago, Armagh contesting All-Ireland semi-finals, and during the James Daly era, really, knocking around that top end of the championship. Aimee, is there a sense now that Armagh can stay up there in that top four and perhaps get on and contest the final?
Yeah, I think last year was a great year for us, and we put in a lot of good performances, but that doesn't necessarily say that you're going to get there again this year. You have to put in the same amount of effort, if not more. So obviously coming up against the likes of Dublin, who've set the standards very high within ladies football over the last few years, and they're probably coming up against them, you could see maybe a wee bit of a difference in how they control the game and the experience they had. So something that we need to learn as young players as well, and that's what we'll do. We'll try to improve and take it into next year, and again just take each.
Just keep an eye on your line there, Aimee. It's a little bit glitchy, but you're okay. You're back again, Aimee. So you had a provincial championship. So if Vikki, if Dublin, if you get to play Dublin, you'll be able to compare notes there, because obviously Meath and Dublin are in the Leinster Championship as well. Eimear, what's next for you? I mean, obviously on and off the pitch. On the pitch, it's not so hectic at the moment, but off the pitch, how are your studies going, and how are you adapting to all of that? How's everything for you?
Yeah, obviously, like it's strange enough. We're off now for a few weeks just for the mid-semester break. So looking forward to a bit of downtime from the books. But yeah, off the pitch, like not much happening. Like just biding our time. So we're just waiting to see what happens.
What are you studying? What did you go for eventually? I remember talking to you when you won a Player of the Month, and you were weighing up your options. So what are you doing with yourself?
Health and performance science.
Okay, going well for you.
Yeah, absolutely loving it. I love the content, and like the pathway that I could possibly see myself going in. So I'm really looking forward to explore more opportunities, that side of things. But yeah, really like, well, I suppose when I was down in UCD, I really enjoyed it. So yeah.
And you play a bit of O'Connor Cup football if we get third level. I'm not sure if it's going to happen this year, but hopefully in 2022.
Yeah, fingers crossed. That's the plan. It'll be a strange one because it'll be my first year, but also my last year because my course is only 3 years, so it'll be a strange one. But yeah, I can't. Yeah, it'll be something to look forward to anyway.
We'll have to put the house in UCD for the O'Connor so in 2022.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Good stuff, guys. It's been so good catching up with you. Really happy for you, Eimear winning Junior Player of the Year again, Vikki Intermediate Player of the Year, and Aimee Senior Player of the Year. So guys, we will see you hopefully on the other side of all this, and look forward to some football taking place this year. Just to finish up the chat, Aimee, and going back to the Gaelic for girls and your introduction into football. You've spoken about it before, but when you look back now, does it feel like just yesterday when you started that journey, or it's remarkable how to where you've come from in such a relatively short period of time?
Yeah, and I think a lot. I started off as playing boys football, and then lucky enough, we had the likes of Peter Lynch involved in our club. He started the Gaelic for girls, and that sort of helped our girls team grow. And luckily enough, our girls team, we have progressed over the last few years, and we're up into the senior championship with it. That's to go to my club. I probably wouldn't have got to where I am today. So a lot of it I have to towards them.
Good stuff. Cracking club and Shane O'Neill's. Vikki, how's all in Dunboyne? Obviously Emma was one of the Player of the Year nominees as well. Cracking player. We had her up for a Player of the Month award in 2019, I think it was, just before the All-Ireland final actually that time. How was your own journey into football? Where did that begin for you, Vikki?
Yeah, I probably was more so invested in soccer up until about 11 or 12. And then my younger sister Sarah, obviously she started before me, so I kind of got involved through that. And then just fell in love with it and probably left the soccer to one side after a few years. So that's where I've begun. Yeah, Emma names beside me. Yeah, she's just been coming up the ranks the last few years.
What a player.
And I suppose being named beside her on Team of the Year, that was really special for both of us. Just even like at training, we're just like cat and dog, and I couldn't really just going at like every training drill. We're kind of, if we're playing backs and forwards, we're always fuming if we're losing, and driving when we could drive home all together. We're obviously all from the same club. There was 6 of us on it, so the car journeys used to be half the crack of county football. So we'd be dissecting everything on the way home. So yeah, I'm absolute delight for Emma as well, and all the hard work she's put in as well.
Her progress is phenomenal. Vikki, if you don't mind me saying it, I think in the space of a year she's become her improvement has been rapid. Really impressive.
Yeah, it's not down to just pure talent though. Like, I mean, she's one of the hardest working people I know. She's always up at the pitch. She's always doing her own individual training. So it's definitely not by fluke or luck or anything like that. So she's phenomenal. Yeah,
absolutely. Eimear, where did it all begin for you in terms of the football journey that you're on?
Yeah, I suppose like every other footballer, like at my local club, like dad would have played a bit with Derry Only.
That's right. He's a massive influence on your life and your career.
Yeah, 100%. Like he's even at the minute, like he's managing our senior ladies team. So dad was obviously a massive part of it. And then just like the club environment, like I think because I would have played a bit of tennis to a high enough level. But like sport and like GAA, especially the team aspect of it, like it's so important, and like it's something that I love massively. So yeah, I've just kept at it.
You'd be too good to drop anyway, but he couldn't drop you.
You'd be surprised.
Guys, as I say, great catching up with you. So on today's call, I had Vikki Wall from Dunboyne and Meath, our TG4 Intermediate Players Player of the Year for 2020. Aimee, Mackin, Shane O'Neill's and Armagh Senior Players Player of the Year, and Eimear Smyth from Derry Connolly Harps and Fermanagh, our Junior Players Player of the Year for the second year in a row. Ladies, great talking. We'll chat to you again soon, and stay safe and stay well.
Thanks.